Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, what we know and what we don't know about the Rockville rape case. Democrats lining up to take on Hogan, and why are Democrats in the media losing their mind after Trump fires Comey? Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by the Dean of Democratic Politics, Sam Statland, Secretary of the Maryland Republican Central Committee, Mark Uncapher, media consultant Jerry Cave, and education activist Cynthia Rubenstein. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. There was something funny about the way the Rockville rape case was dismissed, and this is what we know about the case. The 14-year-old victim said that 17-year-old Jose Montano asked her to have sex with himself and 18-year-old Henry Sanchez Milan. And when she said no, they forced her into a bathroom stall where allegedly they raped her. We also know that immediately after the crime, she reported it to school officials and the police. That's sort of what we know. Last week, in a hastily called press conference, State's Attorney John McCarthy, flanked by most of the political heavyweights, including County Executive Isaiah Leggett, Police Chief Tom Menger, MCPS School Superintendent Dr. Jack Smith, and School Board President Michael A. Dorso, announced that rape charges against Milan and Montano were being dropped due to a lack of cooperation and of inconsistency of facts, which may have included that the rape victim having texted a nude photo of herself to Montano the day before the crime. Now, critics have claimed that McCarthy, in dropping his investigation, acted too quickly to sweep this sensational crime under the rug because the alleged assailants were undocumented Hispanics and were part of the Obama border kids allowed into Montgomery County despite their illegal status. Jerry, the news of the alleged rape of a 14-year-old freshman by these two undocumented aliens grabbed national headlines at the same time the Trump administration announced a crackdown on sanctuary cities. Is there a connection between the decision to drop the suit and this issue?
It's a direct cause and effect. Every person who's been a victim of a crime by an illegal alien would not have suffered that if they did not give sanctuary to those people. And what's worse here is it stinks to high heaven that all those guys lined up to give this guy a pass are the alleged perpetrators. If you can't have a deterrent from raping a 14-year-old girl, then nobody is safe. And they did this to hide the fact that they are in favor of illegal immigration, which is one of the worst crimes you can commit against our republic.
Cynthia, doesn't no mean no? I mean, what justification is there not to prosecute these guys?
First of all, you're not going to bait me. Secondly, I've read news accounts about interviews with the girl and the two young men. There were security camera footage that showed she was not pushed into the bathroom, that she went into the bathroom with them by appearances willingly. I'm just talking about the evidence. You have to meet, you let me go on about what's been reported in the papers based on interviews, security cameras, and the cell phone. She sent a nude image of herself to the 17-year-old.
14-year-olds. She's a 14-year-old.
She texted
Cynthia?
and said she would agree to have. I'm just talking to you about the evidence that the state's attorney had to consider.
Right.
Before he brought charges.
There was conflicting
But shouldn't
interviews.
shouldn't this be presented to a judge and a jury, and not the prosecutor making this decision?
The state's attorney apparently felt that based on the evidence that they had collected and the interviews, it did not meet the standard for evidence to prosecute.
Aren't you leaving the grand jury out of this process? State's attorney investigates evidence, decides whether to present it to.
Not every felony has to be presented by a grand jury if there's probable cause of a
and
felony.
Obviously there is no probable cause.
And
as far as having all the officials behind him This case was so controversial.
This
I
case-
think he was smart
What-
in having
what-
all the electors behind him to
why was
support
the
a good
superintendent?
decision.
Because it blew
why was
up
the superintendent
nationally.
of schools and the board, the school board president there?
Where
This
did it
was a
take place?
This
In a
was a
school.
criminal case, and it shows just how rotten the school system is.
And
Well,
this,
there
but
we
this,
agree.
you
and
are
how
you
poorly
are
what poor controls there are in the school
the
system.
school
It's an
system after
embarrassment
this
to
incident
MCPS.
did
Sam,
a top-down review of security and
it
what
found it
happens in the
stinks.
schools.
They covered it up so they wouldn't be
immediately
embarrassed.
began
There was
to
no
What-
cover-up.
address
the
it.
next-
What else would you
It was
want
very
them
public.
to do?
That was the
Cynthia,
problem.
the
It
next
was too public.
14-year-old kid who comes forward or who's been raped is going to think twice, because they're going to know how eager, how enthusiastic the political establishment in this county was to throw that girl under the bus.
So instead of having a deterrent, they've given an incentive to rape and assault.
The deterrent is still there.
No, it's not.
A poor,
they gave the guy a pass.
A poor prosecution.
Jerry, it's
You know
not,
what? And this because it
Isn't.
fits in the Democratic Party
18-year-old
narrative.
is
if
going
if the race of the 14-year-old victim had been different
court.
and the alleged perpetrators had been white, they not only would be under indictment, but this county would be on fire. And you know it.
The county-
Everybody sitting up
with
here
the
knows it.
same
county was
evidence
on
that
fire.
John
No, they
McCarthy
weren't on
had
fire.
to consider.
Your Democrats didn't have a thing to
don't
say.
believe that.
Oh, yeah?
Either. No.
I don't believe that.
Listen, something stinks about this case. There's a problem in the law enforcement. There's a problem with the police. And there's a problem with enforcement, and there's a big problem in MCPS where students can roam the halls during the day and have sex in the bathroom.
Well, I agree with that.
Without any problem.
I agree with that, and that's why MCPS made a sweeping review of what happens in high schools and how they can make sure this does not happen again. And put
And I
procedures,
wanna tell you something,
policies,
it's gotta
and
be mentioned.
processes
The
in.
fact that she may have sent
so
a
this would
text of
not happen.
herself is immaterial. That's like saying, oh, the person was dressed provocatively and deserved to get it. That is disgraceful.
Well, but the other problem is we have to acknowledge, and this is one reason why I think they tried to quiet this down so quickly. There is a gang problem in this county. That the administration doesn't want to acknowledge. Because Sam, 3 days after this case was dismissed, the Montgomery County Jail released back into the community a 19-year-old who had been arrested in the past 6 months for having stolen a police officer's rifle, assault rifle, shotgun. And where did they find him? They found him at Albert Einstein High School with what? Oh, a stolen car. And back in April, this guy was arrested in Baltimore with a stolen car. What is the problem with this county acknowledging that we have a gang problem here?
Casey, we have not acknowledged a gang problem for 20 years. 20 years ago, walking in Wheaton, walking in Gaithersburg, downtown Silver Spring, what did everybody think these initials and signs were all over light posts
You're right.
and walls? We've always not admitted the problem, and we should. We need to face up to that stuff.
Why do they let these
as
people
far
in?
as far as this particular person and ICE, of course they blew it. They had the guy in jail, and for some reason they let him out because they can't read and follow their own paperwork. He never should have been released from jail.
And Rob,
one more point.
and they admitted
it's
it.
not up to the county officials to have people stationed at every entrance to Montgomery County, asking people, "Oh, are you legal? Are you coming
wait,
into
that
Montgomery
is-
County?"
that is a
What
red
is
herring.
clear?
No
That's
one-
not their job.
No one has suggested that.
He did.
no, he didn't.
No, he
suggest
He
that.
did.
Mark, wrap it up. Take us to the break.
I was going to say, nobody is suggesting going door to door. What we're saying is when people come to the attention of officials and they're wanted for ICE, we should cooperate.
I agree.
All right, when we come back from this short break, we're going to take on the firing of FBI Director Comey. And did Donald Trump create a constitutional crisis? And why are so many Maryland Democrats lining up to challenge Republican Governor Larry Hogan in 2018? Stay tuned. Into Montgomery County. Welcome back. With more than 18 months to go before the 2018 election for governor, Maryland Democrats have been eagerly announcing their availability to challenge Republican Governor Larry Hogan. Already, there is PG County Executive Rushern Baker, U.S. Congressman John Delaney, former head of the NAACP Ben Jealous, Baltimore County Executive Kevin Kamens, and State Senator Rich Madaleno. Sam, why do so many want this office? Does it pay that good?
Look, the Maryland governor is one of the most powerful governors in this country, especially with his control of the budget. And I think that any Democrat who is going to take the governor on has a battle and knows it. So I admire the people who are throwing their hat into the ring. From my perspective, I think Rich Madaleno is the front runner. He knows the budget like the back of his hands. He's been traveling the state, and as far as I know, he's the only one that's announced for office.
Cynthia, Sam just stole your thunder because I was going to ask you, who's the front runner?
You can still ask.
Who's
and
the
I'll
front
tell you.
runner?
Well, there was a straw poll done in Western Maryland a few weeks ago, and John Delaney won it.
What a surprise.
I would say right now, as a point of name recognition and dollars, John Delaney could be the front runner if he wants it. If he wants it. He's more well known than
Who
any of the
knows
other
him
candidates.
outside of Montgomery County?
They know him in Western Maryland.
Do they know him in Baltimore?
They even
Western
like
Maryland
They do
ain't going to
not,
vote for John
but
Delaney.
he will.
like
He
him.
has that purple appeal of appealing to Democrats
no, he's got the
who
green
are.
appeal.
Well,
He's got the green appeal.
he
He's
will
got,
appeal
he's got
to
lots
my-
of,
he
He's
will
got
repeal-
lots of his own money.
Excuse me,
I
Listen,
thought I
I
was
can
supposed to
tell
be
you
talking
exactly
here.
when John Delaney is going to be governor of the state of Maryland. But it is not going to be in 2020. It's going to be in
Well, we're
2024.
talking about-
because John Delaney is too smart to run against him. Hogan cannot be beat. They're probably going to put up Rusher and Baker and let him be the sacrificial lamb.
I'm not
But
saying John
Delaney is
Delaney
going to be
wants
governor
to
in
run.
2024.
You're
It's
all
okay.
wrong. I think that the front runner is Kevin Kamenetz, the Baltimore County Executive, who is much better known up in Baltimore. I think the rest of the state is kind of all divided up.
But what Madaleno has going for him was that he introduced legislation. In fact, he was the tool or the designer of legislation that put an awful lot of money into Baltimore City for the school system. And people there remember it. I think he's going to get a lot of support for it.
Can he raise the money though? That's
I
the
think he
bottom
can,
line.
yes.
It's the guy who can bring the money to the table. That's the
I
guy
think
who's
he
going
can
to.
be pretty
That's
good
the
at
guy
it.
who's going to be the nominee, whether it's Madaleno.
Nobody can beat Hogan. It's all theater.
That's a different issue. That was a
We,
different question.
Jerry,
We're
talking
no
about
one
the
knows what's going to
Democrats.
happen in 2018. If Trump
Yeah, I'll
takes
tell
a
you right now
dive,
what's going to happen. Just like
if-
I told you the last two elections.
Excuse me, you're a sports guy, right? It ain't
Not
never
really.
It ain't over till it's over.
Well, this one's over,
Gee,
buddy.
did I say that?
I
lot can
got
happen
it,
in
Jerry.
Jerry,
can happen.
Jerry, you got to remember that this is a very blue
Yeah.
state, and the odds.
remember
of
how
Hogan-
popular
what?
Bob
The only-
Ehrlich
the
was
greater-
when he was defeated?
Who?
He was Bob Ehrlich when he was a very popular
Yeah.
Republican governor, and he was defeated.
And the odds are that he was going to lose. Yeah. No. Listen, I told you Hogan was going to win. I told you Trump was going to win. And I'm telling you Hogan's going to win and Delaney's going to win. The bigger problem is that means that we're going to have like
Wind
Wrap
it
it up.
16
Jerry.
years of Irish guys being governor of Maryland. That's 12 years. It's a disaster.
Wrap it up because we've got a more important topic to talk about. Last month, the New York Times published an extensive article which was a stinging indictment of FBI Director James Comey. The Times made the case that Comey violated FBI tradition, bypassed the Justice Department, and went rogue on several occasions in a manner that clearly impacted the 2016 presidential election. Therefore, the case for firing former FBI Director Comey has been made at length by both Democrats and Republicans. Yet this week, when President Trump got around to firing Comey, the media and the Democrats became unhinged over the action. Sam, your nominee, Hillary Clinton, partly blames her defeat to the revelations and the actions that Director Comey made during the campaign. So why are Democrats upset that he's been fired?
Look, it's not just Democrats, it's also Republicans. Just 2 hours ago on
Which
the
Repu-
news,
which
you heard
Republicans?
Republican representatives of Congress
Rhinos.
McCain
say,
is not a rhino.
saying
He's not a Republican.
that an investigation should be called for. But beyond all this,
But that's not
beyond
saying he
all
shouldn't be
this,
fired.
We have the FBI investigating. That answer will be resolved because I have faith in the FBI. As far as I'm concerned, all of this does nothing more than distract from legislation on the Affordable Care Act, and legislation on tax reform, which we haven't heard a word about now in 10 days. I want to see the Congress and the President show leadership and do something to help the people for whom they're elected to represent, and all we're talking about is stuff that's absolutely, in fact, meaningless.
Sam, nothing's happened like that in the last 12 years, so why would you expect it now?
The last time this happened
Yeah?
was when Nixon was president of the United States.
No, actually,
my
Wait,
God.
wait.
When
And I thought I was
I
good
don't-
at not answering
excuse
the
me.
question.
When
This
Congress
guy's
worked-
sweet.
when the
Excuse
Congress
me,
worked with the president.
and whether you can draw an analogy between the two is beside the point. Because the point is that the event occurred. You got a president. He's tweeting. God knows what he
Stan,
tweets. He
Yeah,
embarrasses
why should
himself
I wanna
he be able
go to-
to
I wanna go
exercise
to
the
Mark.
First
Mark.
Amendment?
and the party, and
Mark.
it smoke screens everything
Mark,
else.
since Sam brought up the Nixon analogy, let's go back to a Nixonian. According to Pat Buchanan, the media is the opposition trying to dump Trump. Is that a fair analysis?
That's a fair analysis. The last fair and balanced television show in the country is this show, 21. You could have
Straight.
a diversity of points of view. What the media has become are partisans on one side or another. It's like the way newspapers were in the 19th century. There's no balance, there's no objectivity anymore.
Well,
And as our agent, I think you ought to get us represented nationally.
There you go.
Exactly.
well, good. He's got a brand new
All
tie.
right. All right, Chuck Todd, watch
Now he
out.
can- So, Cynthia, are you upset that Comey was fired? You didn't like him last summer, did you? Did you?
What I don't like is that Donald Trump has been changing his story every 5 minutes about why
Cynthia.
he. I'm talking here. Donald
Answer the
Trump
question.
has the
Answer the
ability
question.
and the power to fire the FBI director.
Right.
Yes. But the reason he fired him is not his original stated reason or his second stated reason. It's now his third stated reason that he planned to fire him because of the Russia thing.
All right, so I'm going to ask you the question a second time. Last summer, when Director Comey had his press conference about Hillary Clinton,
I did not like him.
2 weeks,
I did
and
not
2
find that
and
to
2
be
weeks
a
before the
firing
election,
offense.
And 2 weeks before the election, when he also announced that he
And
found
that was something that Rod Rosenstein brought out in the paper that he was asked to produce for what Comey had done wrong.
Comey was a showboater, wasn't he?
He may have been a showboater, but
Nobody
what do you
has,
think
there's
Trump
been no
is?
other FBI
Trump
director.
is a showboater and a grandstander par excellence.
Yeah, I know, but he's president of the United States and he's allowed and supposed to do that,
Yes,
interject
and he
in
is
every
allowed.
speech.
Just-
He
But
is
no
allowed.
other
I
FBI
wanna
director
go back to
has
Sam.
interjected
But it
themselves into the
stinks.
national
None ever,
narrative
ever.
like this guy has.
So Sam,
Right.
last summer,
Yes.
were you happy with the actions that Director Comey did with respect
No, I
to
thought that he should never have done that.
And should he
I
have been
thought it
fired
was
then?
improper
Should he have been fired
for the head of the FBI.
Should he have been fired then?
I think the president should have thought about it. Better than, let me put it to you this way. If he'd have fired him then,
Yeah. Of
you
Obama.
wouldn't have
President
all
Obama.
of this. Then you wouldn't have all of this.
So
stuff
you only
going on.
like it if Obama fired him. If Trump
No.
fires him,
So-
it's no good.
No.
If Hillary
I want to
Clinton,
see cause.
if Hillary had been elected president, would he have lasted this long?
I don't think so.
Might not be alive.
I mean, this is what
Because
was
Bill
so
Clinton
delicious
fired-
about it.
Bill Clinton
Well,
fired-
two investigations
Everybody is
going
I
in
on.
want to make
short
one
You got
more
the
point.
Hillary
I want to
investigation,
make one more
and you-
point.
and
The
you've got the Russian
acting
investigation.
Andrew
Hold on,
McCabe,
hold on.
the acting Andrew McCabe is a good person to have in because he will maintain the impartiality of the FBI and the professionalism of the FBI. And we'll wait.
And the president
Listen,
already
And
got
Mark
him
is
flack.
choking. Why do you think that?
No, he absolutely misrepresented the relationship of his wife to getting campaign contributions
Hundreds of
from
thousands of
hundreds of thousands of dollars from a fund with Terry McAuliffe. He does not, he is not, I mean, he happens to be the choice and whatever,
not impartial.
but I'm not sure that I have all that much confidence in
Okay,
him.
I didn't know what you just told me. So.
All right. Well, we've had a lot of fun talking about the Trumpster this week. We're gonna have lots of fun going forward. Stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from this short break. And welcome back. When James Comey exercised prosecutorial discretion and chose not to prosecute Hillary Clinton last summer for espionage, there were many who thought his actions was a breach of his duty and that he was acting as a judge and not as a prosecutor. Likewise, the decision by John McCarthy not to prosecute Jose Montano and Sanchez Milan also was a breach of his duty to protect the citizens of Montgomery County. One has to wonder how much political pressure McCarthy was under to have to stand in front of the county political bigwigs as he dropped the charges. What business was the school board president doing in a criminal investigation? That was nonsense. Prosecutors bring charges, and judges and juries decide if there's a guilty party. By acting as a judge in this case, John McCarthy is open to criticism that he and his political backers were trying to hide something more sinister. Now with their parting shots, Sam Statland.
McCarthy did a good job of having prosecutorial discretion. Folks, my parting shot goes to Verizon. Guys, you're going to get a letter. It's going to say, your email account has got to be switched to AOL. If you do so, you're going to really be in a whole world of trouble because emails will disappear, they won't go out, they won't be sent. And when you get a hold of AOL on the line, maybe they'll try and help you. They could, like today, stay on the line for over an hour and in the end tell you, gee, we're sorry, you'll get your email back 24 hours from now if you're lucky. My big parting shot and boo goes to Verizon.
Thank you, Sam. Cynthia Rubenstein, your parting shot.
Here in the county, we have a real interesting situation with 4 finalists for the planning board. We have a community activist who's a retired postal worker or retired USPS from Silver Spring named Peter Finn. We have Tina Patterson, who's a businesswoman from Germantown. We have Dan Reed from Silver Spring, who's an urban planner as well as a realtor and a blogger. And we have Bruce Romer, former CAO of Montgomery County, who all of whom want to become the next planning board member. They're all highly qualified, and it'll be very interesting to see who the county council selects for this very, very important position.
Is this a Democratic seat or?
This is a Democratic seat, and the selection will be taking up the seat that is left by Mary Wells Harley.
Thank you, Cynthia. Jerry Cave, your parting shot.
Morning Joe Scarborough was unbelievable today. I don't know who was worse. Mika Brzezinski said that CNN should not have Kellyanne Conway on anymore because she called her political porn. What a horrible comment. But David Ignatius took the prize. He actually told everybody what's going on. He said the criticism of Trump is a cover-up without a crime. 6 months after the election, there's not a shred of evidence of collusion between Trump and the Russians, a crime, or any interference in the election. The Democrats and the media are trying to reverse the election when what they ought to be doing is reverse their direction.
Thank you, Jerry. Mark Uncapher.
Well, I'm going to agree with Sam on something tonight, which is that there are issues that we're not talking about. And one of the issues that we haven't been talking about is the news that one of our premier high schools, Walt Whitman, was dropped completely from the U.S. News. It isn't even in the top 100. It was completely dropped out altogether. I think part of the conversation that we may be losing with MCPS is the fact that our schools are not as strong as they used to be as other schools become more competitive over a period of time.
Thank you, Mark. And I want to thank everybody for being here tonight and remind everybody that Sunday, our first showing, is on Mother's Day. And I hope that we have a beautiful, sunny Mother's Day, unlike the gloomy doom that we saw this Friday when we're taping the show. You can see everybody's foul mood tonight on the set because of the traffic and the miserable weather that we've been in. So I'm hoping that we have a beautiful Mother's Day, and I hope the Nats get back on the winning streak and improve their record and prove once again that they're the best team in baseball. Unfortunately, the Caps went down in defeat. I don't know what to say about them. I know you're brokenhearted.
Boo-hoo.
Boo-hoo. So for 21 this week, I want to thank the panel. I want to thank the audience for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.